Hello everyone, I am Casey the Gamer, and it's time for another game review. We have another battle against the Mavericks ahead of us in Mega Man Xtreme. Mega Man Xtreme was developed by Capcom and was released in Japan on October 20th, 2000 and on January 10th, 2001 in North America for the Gameboy Color. I never owned a Gameboy Color, so my only experiences with the Xtreme games were through emulation, and I never really got into them too much back when I was younger, but I have now played through and completed Mega Man Xtreme. So, let's talk about it. There are spoilers ahead for the story of the game. Mega Man Xtreme takes place between Mega Man X2 and Mega Man X3. The game opens up with X wondering where he is. After realizing that he's on the highway from the first game, he wonders why he's there. X fights his way through the area and battles Vile like he did when he was there originally. However, this time, X is victorious in his battle against Vile. After the fight with Vile, X is back at the Hunter base and he asks Zero what's going on. Zero explains that someone broke into the mother computer system of the Hunter base and messed with its data, causing mass confusion all over. Zero then says it seems like whoever is behind the whole thing is reproducing the fighting data of the past. Zero then introduces X to a green Reploid named Middy. Middy was the one who brought X back out of the data world after defeating Vile. X and Middy exchange greetings and shake hands. Middy explains that in order to fix everything, they must fix the data in the core of the mother computer. Unfortunately, the way to the core is protected. In order to get there, X must defeat 4 Guardians. They are represented by 4 Mavericks from the past. X must go back into the data world and destroy them once again. X says he'll do it while Zero stays behind to take on any threats happening in the real world. X is sent into the data world, and he is met with Chill Penguin, Spark Mandrill, Storm Eagle, and Flame Stag from X1 and X2. After the defeat of the first Maverick, we meet the villains of the game: Techno, Geemel, and Zane. Techno can't believe how easily X defeated the first boss, and he is worried. Geemel says not to worry, to just keep watch on what X is doing. Techno says they'll get hurt if they disvalue X's power, but Zane says that he will crush X for sure. X defeats the next 2 Mavericks and heads to the last Maverick location. Here, he encounters Zane. X easily defeats Zane, even though Zane claimed otherwise. Zane retreats and X goes after the boss. With the final boss defeated, Dr. Kane informs X that all of the protection has been cleared, and X heads to the core. Zane attacks X again, still claiming that X has no chance. X defeats Zane once again, destroying him this time. Geemel shows up and he can't believe that Zane lost. X doesn't even know who Geemel is. Geemel takes the time to introduce himself and says that he'll get X later. Ooh, scary. X continues forward and battles the spider boss from Mega Man X1 and has a fight with Surges from X2. X defeats them both as well as dealing with a boss rush before heading to the final area. X runs into Sigma, who is very impressed. As it turns out, Sigma was behind the whole thing. Big surprise. Sigma is sporting his X1 design in this game. X battles and destroys this form of Sigma once again. With this form of Sigma defeated, Techno is panicking because they've been found out. Giemel escapes, leaving Techno behind. As X prepares to teleport to the core, Mitty says that he wants to tell X something before changing his mind. X teleports to the core and confronts Techno. Techno is about to do something when X tells him to stop and that he'll destroy the machine. Techno cries out in pain and falls over. Mitty arrives, calling Techno his brother. Techno wants to know what he's doing there. Techno realizes he's been being controlled by Sigma. Techno reveals that in order to hack the mother computer, he connected his own CPU directly into the computer. Mitty and Techno share some nice words with each other before Techno dies. Mitty reveals to X that he and Techno are twins and they share the same CPU, meaning that if Techno dies, Mitty also dies. Mitty tells X to defeat Sigma once and for all. X presses on and confronts Sigma again, this time sporting his second form from X1. X defeats Sigma, but this only causes Sigma to retreat for now. X rushes back to Mitty and tells him that they need to get out of there, but Mitty says that he's done for. Mitty dies and X returns to Hunter Base. Zero says that the mission is complete, but then asks where Mitty is. X explained what happened, and the game then says that thanks to X and Zero, Sigma's ambition to rule the computer world was stopped. Or was it? After the credits, there is a message that says to play the game on hard mode. X once again wakes up on the highway stage from the first game, and he fights Vile once again. Zero then tells X that the mother computer is being messed with again. More fight data from the past has been reproduced. X heads back into the data world and is met with the next batch of Guardians. More bosses from X1 and X2. This time we have Wheel Gator, Magna Centipede, Armored Armadillo, and Morph Moth. After the defeat of the first boss of this new batch, Giemel is talking to himself. He can't believe that they were defeated last time. He is going to make X pay by messing up the data in the computer even more. X defeats another boss and then encounters Giemel on the next stage. Giemel says that he's been waiting for X to show up. Giemel declares that he's going to finish X off once and for all. X defeats Giemel with even less effort than it took to beat Zane. Giemel makes a quick retreat, and then X goes on to defeat the final two Mavericks. With the protections clear again, X heads back to the core. X battles Giemel, the Spider Boss, Surgis, and deals with another boss rush before having to deal with Sigma again. X defeats both of Sigma's forms once again. X and Zero have stopped Sigma from taking over the computer world for real this time. Right? Yeah, pretty much. There is an extreme mode that you unlock after beating hard mode. It basically mashes the two previous playthroughs together, giving you all 8 bosses at once. There's no story on extreme mode, but after the credits there is a message from Sigma. Sigma just says that he'll always come back as long as evil exists. Typical villain crap, no big surprise at all. The story was pretty enjoyable overall. It's a neat little side story with a pretty cool idea. I do think it's a little silly going from normal to hard mode, where you've just stopped the computer from being messed with, and they just go, oh, somebody's messing with it again. But beyond that, it's alright. I had fun. Mega Man Xtreme does a pretty good job of translating the fast-paced gameplay of the Mega Man X series to a handheld game. You play as X and you can run, jump, dash, and shoot your way through the stages like in the mainline games. Overall, it feels pretty good. There's less buttons on the Game Boy Color, so the control scheme is a little bit different. Jumping and shooting and running are all still straightforward though. However, in order to dash, you have to double tap the movement button, which you could do in the other games, but they also had a dedicated dash button. You also have to manually change weapons because there are no shoulder buttons on the Game Boy Color. Once you get used to those few changes though, it honestly feels really good to play, so no complaints there. As I mentioned in the story section, there's a normal mode and a hard mode. You get your fair share of items in each mode. The game includes armor pieces, heart tanks, sub-tanks, and 0 extreme programs. So in normal mode, you'll find 4 heart tanks, 2 sub-tanks, and all 4 armor capsules. In hard mode, you get to keep all of your upgrades from normal mode, and you find 4 more heart tanks and 2 more sub-tanks, and all of the 0 programs. It's nice to play an X game that gives me 4 sub-tanks total again. Anyway, the armor in this game takes on the appearance of the Mega Man X1 armor, one of my absolute favorites. The leg upgrade is located in Chill Penguin stage like it was originally. But since X can dash by default, the leg upgrade allows X to jump off walls further than normal, and he can break certain blocks by jumping off of them. The body upgrade is located in Flame Stag stage and reduces the amount of damage that X takes by half. The helmet upgrade is located in Storm Eagle stage, and it lets X break blocks with a headbutt. And the arm cannon upgrade is located in Spark Mandrill stage, and it gives X a 3rd charge shot and allows him to charge up boss weapons. The 0 extreme programs found in hard mode call 0 into the action very briefly to attack enemies or bosses before teleporting back. The dash program is found in Armored Armadillo stage, and 0 will teleport in and do a dash attack. The final program is found in Magna Centipede stage, and 0 will perform a stronger dash attack. The Rising program is found in Wheel Gators stage, and it has 0 do an upward slash attack. The Earth Geyser program is found in Morph Moths stage, and has 0 do a ground pound that damages all enemies on screen. Also available in the game, like in X1 and X2, are the special Street Fighter moves, the Hadouken and the Shoryuken. These are found in the second of the Sigma stages. You get both from the same capsule. Unlike their original appearances, you don't have to be at full health to use them. But they also don't kill bosses in one hit. They still do okay damage though. Instead of using the button inputs from the Street Fighter games like before, you hold down the shoot button to charge up your attack and hold the down button on the D-pad when you release the fire button to do the Hadouken. For the Shoryuken, you hold the up button when you release the fire button. Mega Man Xtreme features 12 action-packed stages, and they are a blast from the past. Sure, between normal mode and hard mode, you play some of the stages twice, just with a couple of differences, but not really enough to count them as different stages. You have the intro stage, the 8 boss stages, and the final 3 Sigma stages. In normal mode, after you beat the intro stage where you have a battle with Vile, you are presented with 4 Maverick stages. The weakness order is Storm Eagle, Flame Stag, Chill Penguin, and Spark Mandrill. In addition to the regular Mavericks, there are 2 new Mavericks named Zane and Gimel. You fight Zane in normal mode and Gimmel in hard mode. You can run into them in the boss stages as a mini-boss or a hidden boss. So for normal, we have Zane, like I said, and he is weak to Shotgun Ice. With the 4 Mavericks and Zane dealt with, it's time for the first Sigma stage. You fight Zane again, and he's still weak to Shotgun Ice. And then you fight the Spider Boss from X1, who is also weak to Shotgun Ice, like in its original appearance. After that, you move on to the second Sigma stage, and you have to fight Surgis, and he is weak to the Speed Burner. On the final stage, you have the boss rush to deal with, and everyone is weak to the same stuff as before. After the boss rush, it's time to fight Sigma. Sigma's first form is weak to Electric Spark, and his second form is weak to the X-Buster. Defeat Sigma, and he retreats for now, and then you unlock Hard Mode. In Hard Mode, things go wrong again, and you have 4 more Mavericks to battle. But as I mentioned earlier, you get to keep all of your upgrades from normal mode. The boss order for Hard Mode is Armored Armadillo, who is weak to Electric Spark that you got in normal mode. Then it's Morph Moth, who is weak to Speed Burner, also from normal mode. After that, it goes Magna Centipede and then Wheel Gator. And when you run into Gimmel, he is weak to the Speed Burner. Then it's time for the final stages again. Gimmel is once again weak to the Speed Burner. The Spider is weak to Shotgun Ice, and Surgis is weak to the Speed Burner. Then there's the new boss rush, and they're all weak to the same stuff that they were earlier. And then you have the final battle with Sigma, who is weak to the same stuff that he was in normal mode. I do find it weird that his second form is still only weak to the X-Buster, despite having the rolling shield weapon, which was his weakness in the original game. After you beat Hard Mode, you unlock Extreme Mode, which just mashes the 2 modes together and cuts out the story. You'll be starting fresh as well. All your upgrades are gone, and you have all 8 Mavericks to contend with in a single playthrough. I personally didn't bother with Extreme Mode, since I had just gone through the whole game basically between normal mode and hard mode. Honestly, they should have just had all 8 Mavericks available for you to fight from the get-go. Basically, Extreme Mode should have just been the game with the story bits included. That's probably my only nitpick with the gameplay. Actually, my other complaint for the gameplay is that enemies are stingy as hell with the health drops. It really made filling up the sub-tanks a pain in the ass. Besides that though, it's a really fun Mega Man X game, and I'm glad that I finally played it. So obviously, being on the Game Boy Color, it doesn't have the graphical quality of the Super Nintendo or the PS1 Mega Man X games that were around at the time. But that doesn't mean that the graphics are bad. I think they look really good, and I love the style. They did a great job translating the characters and stages from the Super Nintendo to the Game Boy Color. The sound effects are pretty decent. It sounds like a Mega Man X game to me, so no complaints. As for the soundtrack, it redoes music from the Super Nintendo games to work for the Game Boy Color. So technically, because the Super Nintendo soundtracks are amazing, the game does have a good soundtrack. But these versions of the songs aren't the best quality. I'm not being too hard on them though, because I get that it's on a handheld, so you gotta make do with what you got. Because of that though, for this video, I have been using the original Super Nintendo versions of the songs. But yeah, technically, it's a great soundtrack. And that was Mega Man Xtreme. I think it's quite the enjoyable game. It's not up there with my favorites of the series, but it's a good time. It was fun getting to experience a Mega Man X game I hadn't beaten before. Even though I've played those stages before in previous games, it was really cool. The story's pretty cool too, and I love the art style. So if you're wanting some more Mega Man X action, I say check out Mega Man Xtreme. Thank you all so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And if you want to see more of me, you can catch me streaming all kinds of stuff over on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/CaseyTheGamer91. And I also have a Patreon where you can get perks like early video access and some other really cool stuff. And that is patreon.com/CaseyTheGamer91. And you can find both of those links and all of my other links in the description below. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope to catch you next time. Peace out.